The bell above the door jangled sharply as Nia Carter stepped into the Pinewood shooting range. Heads turned, then quickly looked away. The air was thick with gunpowder and stale coffee, clinging to the worn wooden walls. Nia's boots clicked softly on the gritty floor, her duffel bag slung over one shoulder. She felt the weight of glances, some curious, most dismissive. At the counter, a man named Gus, his beard flecked with gray, barely looked up from his clipboard. "Sign-in's there," he grunted, pointing to a crumpled sheet. Nia nodded, her face unreadable, and wrote her name in steady, deliberate strokes. She'd learned long ago to keep her armor tight in places like this. The range hummed with low chatter, snippets of "new face" and "won't last long" floated past. Nia ignored them, setting her bag on a splintered bench. She unpacked with precision, ear protection, gloves, rifle case. No flashy gear, just tools worn from years of practice. A group of men near Lane 3 smirked, one muttering something that drew a chuckle. Nia caught it but didn't flinch. She pulled her rifle out, its barrel gleaming faintly under the fluorescent lights, and checked the scope with calm focus. "Hey, Gus," a guy in a faded cap called, loud enough for all to hear, "she know this ain't a photo shoot?" Laughter rippled. Gus shrugged, uninterested. Nia's hands moved steadily, loading a magazine. Inside, a quiet fire burned, not anger, but certainty. She wasn't here for them. She was here to hit her mark, and they'd see it soon enough. Nia Carter sat on the bench, her rifle resting across her lap. The Pinewood shooting range buzzed with the clatter of gear and the occasional crack of a shot. She adjusted her gloves, the leather creaking softly, and scanned the room. Faces blurred into a mosaic of doubt, eyes that sized her up and found her wanting. The corkboard on the wall boasted a faded photo of the range's champion, Cole Ramsey, his record score untouched for 7 years. Nia's lips twitched, a fleeting smile. Records were just numbers waiting to fall. She caught a whisper from Lane 4, "Bet she's here for likes, not shots." The speaker, a wiry man with a sunburned neck, grinned at his friend. Nia let it slide, her focus sharpening like a blade. She'd grown up in Macon, Georgia, where her uncle taught her to shoot on a dirt patch behind his barn. "Ignore the noise," he'd said. "Let your aim speak." At 15, she'd outshot every hunter in their county. Nobody clapped then, either. The loudspeaker crackled, "Open competition in 10 minutes." The room stirred, shooters checking rifles, their laughter masking nerves. Nia felt the stares, heavy as humidity, but she kept her breathing even. Her plain navy jacket and no-nonsense braid didn't scream "shooter" to this crowd. That was fine. She wasn't here to fit their picture. A man bumped past her, his chuckle low and deliberate. Nia didn't look up. She slid around into the chamber, the click loud in her ears. Her pulse stayed steady, a quiet drumbeat. Soon, they'd all be watching, whether they wanted to or not. Nia Carter leaned back against the bench, her rifle cradled like an old friend. The Pinewood shooting range pulsed with anticipation, the air sharp with metal and sweat. Shooters shuffled to their lanes, their boots scuffing the concrete. Nia's slot was later, so she watched, her dark eyes catching every detail. A man in a tactical vest yanked his trigger too fast, his shots veering wide. A woman with a ponytail hesitated, her aim unsteady. No one was flawless, but they slapped each other's backs anyway, a club bound by unwritten rules. Nia's fingers traced the rifle stock, her mind drifting to Macon. Her uncle's voice echoed, "Steady hands, steady heart." She'd learned on rusted cans and splintered posts, out shooting boys who never shook her hand after. Winning was one thing, winning as her was another. At Pinewood, Cole Ramsey stood near the soda machine, arms crossed, his grin easy. He glanced at Nia, not hostile, just sizing her up like a stray cat. She met his gaze briefly, her expression neutral, then turned back to her gear. The whispers continued, "She's still here?" probably just curious. Nia zipped her bag shut, every move deliberate. The louder they talked, the quieter she grew inside. Her name crept higher on the sign-in sheet. She flexed her fingers, no shake, just a hum of energy. The range master's voice boomed, "Next group, get ready." Nia stayed seated, her pulse a metronome. A kid with a buzz cut finished his round, fist-pumping at his score. Nia smiled faintly. Let them have their moment. Hers was coming, and it would hit harder than they could imagine. The Pinewood shooting range thrummed with tension as the next group took their lanes. Nia Carter sat still, her rifle across her knees, the familiar weight grounding her. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the concrete. She adjusted her ear protection, muffling the chatter but not the stares. The crowd's assumptions pressed against her like a heavy coat, but she shed them easily. Her mind was a clear pool, focused on the target ahead. The corkboard's faded photo of Cole Ramsey loomed, his record score a silent challenge. Nia's fingers brushed her scope, a scratched but trusty vortex. She'd bought it with her first paycheck, a promise to herself. A man nearby tossed a spent casing, smirking. "Hope she's got a good view from the bench," he muttered. His buddy laughed, careless. Nia's face stayed smooth, but her hands moved with purpose, checking her magazine. She'd faced worse than whispers, sneers at county fairs, silence after her wins. Her uncle's words anchored her, "They'll see you when you make them." The loudspeaker barked, "Nia Carter, Lane 8. Heads turned, some masking curiosity, others blatant. Nia rose, rifle in hand, her boots steady on the floor. Lane 8 sat at the range's edge, half-lit by slanting sunlight. Perfect. Fewer eyes, more focus. She set up methodically, stand adjusted, scope aligned, barrel clean. A man to her right whispered, shaking his head. Nia ignored him, loading her first round. The click was sharp, a ritual. She breathed deep, the air tasting of oil and dust. The range master raised his hand. Nia's thumb flicked up. She was ready, and the world was about to learn why. Nia Carter settled into lane 8, her rifle stock snug against her shoulder. The Pinewood shooting range fell into a hush, broken only by the hum of ventilation. Sunlight sliced through high windows, glinting off her barrel. She adjusted her stance, feet firm on the concrete, and sighted the target 50 yards out. It swayed faintly in the air currents, but Nia's eyes tracked it like a hawk. The range master's hand dropped. Fire. Nia exhaled, her finger curling around the trigger. Crack. The shot cut the air, sharp and clean. The bullet punched dead center, a perfect hole in the target's heart. Silence gripped the room, thick and sudden. No cheers, just a collective pause, like the world had skipped a breath. Nia didn't flinch. She chambered the next round, the bolt's click echoing in her ears. Whispers started, low at first, "Luck, maybe? Wait for the next one." She ignored them, her focus a laser. Another breath, another pull. Crack. Dead center again. A chair scraped loudly as someone sat down hard. Nia worked through her magazine, each shot a metronome of precision. The crowd's murmurs grew uneven, their confidence cracking. She was no fluke. Her uncle's lessons hummed in her bones, one shot at a time, Nia. That's all it takes. By the time her magazine emptied, the range was a tomb of stunned faces. The monitor flickered, showing a cluster of holes so tight it looked like one. Nia lowered her rifle, ear protection off. The range master blinked at the screen, then at her. "Check this," he muttered, voice shaky. Nia reloaded. She wasn't done speaking with her shots. Nia Carter stood at lane 8, her rifle reloaded, the Pinewood shooting range now crackling with tension. The silence that followed her first magazine had shattered, replaced by a low hum of murmurs. Her shots, each a perfect strike, had rewritten the room's rhythm. The target downrange bore a single ragged hole, her bullet stacked so tight it defied belief. Nia's face remained calm, her eyes fixed forward, but inside, a steady fire burned. She'd felt this before, the moment doubt began to crack. The range master hovered near the monitor, his finger tracing the screen, lips moving silently. "That's unreal," he muttered. Behind her, the crowd stirred. A man in a flannel jacket leaned forward, squinting. "She's got to miss sometime," he whispered, but his tone wavered. Nia slid another round into the chamber, the metallic snap cutting through the noise. Her uncle's voice echoed, "One shot at a time, Nia. That's all it takes." She leaned into the stock, the familiar weight steadying her. Crack. Another bullseye, clean and brutal. The whispers grew louder, no longer mocking. "Who is she?" someone asked. Cole Ramsey stepped closer, his boots scuffing the concrete, his jaw tight. He wasn't smirking now. Nia fired again, her rhythm unbroken, each shot a statement. The monitor flickered, her score climbing past the day's best, edging toward Cole's record. Gus approached, his clipboard shaking slightly. "You're out shooting everyone," he said, voice gruff but tinged with awe. Nia didn't respond. She had one shot left, one final word in this conversation. Her finger rested on the trigger, her breath a whisper. The range held its breath with her, Nia Carter's finger hovered over the trigger, the pinewood shooting range suspended in a taut hush. Her final shot loomed, the weight of every eye pressing against her. The target, 50 yards out, was a constellation of perfect holes, each bullet a testament to her skill. She exhaled, her breath steady, the air sharp with gunpowder and anticipation. The crowd leaned forward, chairs scraping, breaths held. Cole Ramsey stood rigid, his arms at his sides, the ghost of his record fading. Nia's mind flickered to Macon, tonight spent aiming at stars under her uncle's quiet guidance. "Your hands know the truth," he'd said. She leaned into the rifle, the stock warm against her cheek. Crack. The shot rang out, slicing the silence. The bullet tore through the target center, merging with the others in a single, devastating tear. The monitor flashed, confirming it, Nia Carter, top score, Cole's record broken. A low gasp rippled through the range. The range master blinked at the screen, then at Nia, his clipboard forgotten. "New record," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Nia set her rifle down, gentle as a prayer, and peeled off her gloves. The room erupted into murmurs, some awed, others disbelieving. Gus scratched his beard, muttering, "Didn't see that coming." Nia packed her gear, her movements unhurried, her face serene. She didn't need their applause. A single clap broke the tension, then another, hesitant but real. Cole stepped forward, his eyes meeting hers. "Hell of a shot," he said, voice tight but honest. Nia nodded, simple and sure. She'd said all she needed to, one bullet at a time. Nia Carter slung her duffel bag over her shoulder, the pinewood shooting range still buzzing with the aftershock of her record-breaking shots. The concrete floor echoed under her boots as she moved toward the door, her steps deliberate, unhurried. The crowd watched, their earlier smirks replaced by curiosity, some with grudging respect. The monitor still blazed her name, Nia Carter, new record holder, above Cole Ramsey's faded glory. She didn't glance at it. Her victory was hers, not a trophy to flaunt. Whispers followed her, where'd she learn that? She's gotta compete more. Nia let them talk. She'd heard rewrites before, doubt turning to praise only after the fact. At the counter, Gus looked up, his gruffness softened. "Photo for the board?" he asked, gesturing to the corkboard. Nia's smile was polite but firm. "No thanks," she said, her voice steady. He blinked, caught off guard, then nodded awkwardly. Cole Ramsey lingered near lane 8, scratching his neck, his confidence reshaped. "You shoot like that often?" he asked, his tone warmer now. When it counts, Nia replied, her eyes meeting his briefly. She pushed open the door, the bell jangling sharply. The Florida sun hit her face, warm and unyielding, the air laced with salt from the nearby coast. Nia took a deep breath, tasting freedom. Her phone buzzed, a text from her uncle. How'd it go? She typed back, good. Real good. The door swung shut behind her, muffling the range's noise. Nia didn't look back. She'd left her mark, not on a board, but in their minds, and that was enough. The world would remember her, whether it was ready or not. Nia Carter slid into her car, the worn leather seat creaking under her weight. She tossed her duffel bag onto the passenger side and let her hands rest on the steering wheel, the Pinewood shooting range fading in her rearview mirror. The late afternoon sun bathed the Florida highway in gold, shadows stretching long across the asphalt. Nia rolled down the windows, the warm breeze tugging at her braid, carrying the scent of cut grass and distant salt. The engine hummed to life, steady as her pulse. She didn't need the radio, her thoughts were enough. The day replayed in her mind, not to dissect, but to savor. Cole's stunned face, Gus's fumbled words, the crowd's shift from mockery to awe. It wasn't about the record. It was about showing up, unapologetically herself, in a room that hadn't made space for her. Nia passed a bait shop, its neon sign flickering, and a diner with retirees sipping coffee. Ordinary places, oblivious to what she'd done. That was fine. She thought of girls like her, in Macon or beyond, walking into rooms where eyes dismissed them. She hoped her story might ripple out, a quiet push against invisible walls. Her uncle's voice surfaced, you don't need their nod, Nia. Just your own. At a stoplight, she caught her reflection in the side mirror, calm, certain. The light turned green, and she eased onto the highway, the sky bruising purple ahead. The weight of her rifle still ghosted her shoulder, each shot a note in her song. Nia tapped the wheel, her rhythm unbroken. She carried her victory inside, small and sure, a fire no one could dim. Nia Carter pulled into her driveway, the porch light of her Dunedin bungalow flickering on. She cut the engine, the quiet settling like dust. Her old hound, Jasper, thumped his tail inside, a welcoming drumbeat. Nia stepped out, duffel bag in hand, the Gulf's salty breath lingering in the air. She dropped her bag by the door and sank to the floor, Jasper's head heavy in her lap. She scratched his ears, the day's adrenaline easing into peace. The Pinewood shooting range felt far away now, but its echoes lingered, Cole's nod, the crowd's hesitant claps, her name on the screen. Nia didn't need a photo on their board. Her mark was deeper, etched in the silence that followed her shots. She thought of the girls watching, maybe in small towns or city corners, learning where they're allowed to stand. She hoped they'd hear of her, not as a hero, but as proof, you can walk in, claim your space, and leave the doubters speechless. Her uncle's words rang true, hit your mark, Nia. That's your voice. The world could judge, but it could also shift, one shot, one moment at a time. Nia leaned back, eyes drifting shut. Tomorrow would bring new rooms, new glances. She'd be ready. To anyone listening, know this, you don't need to shout to be seen. Your strength, your skill, your truth, that's enough. If Nia's story hit you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more tales of quiet victories. You've got your own mark to hit, and the only permission you need is yours. See you next time.